Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and welcome back to another Feel Good Friday. Let's end the week off on the right foot. Joining me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all of our listeners. I can't wait to get started on these feel-good stories. And of course, for any new listeners or anyone that's curiously coming through this channel, this episode is for positive stories, so we can go ahead and, as Damas said, end your week off on the right foot.
Love it.
Now, before we get started, why don't you go ahead and pick up that mystery drink? That way you can go ahead and figure out what it is.
This is probably one of my favorite ways to end off the week now. Because some of these have been very big misses, and some of them have been good. Whoa. That is taro?
Yeah.
I'm saying that right.
It's a taro boba from a can.
Yeah, that's strong.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
It's questionable with your look. Is it because you were expecting for it to be something else?
It looks like chocolate milk in the cup.
Well, while you go ahead and enjoy your mystery drink, now that we know that it's taro, why don't we go ahead and get started with these stories? For a first story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to see my girlfriend naked? I, male 27, have been in a relationship with Jane, female 25, for 6 months. She's smart, funny, kind, sassy, giving, and a little bit annoying, lol. She's also a total knockout and way out of my league, except she doesn't see herself that way. Jane is on the bigger side, and I am more lean. I like to go to the gym and work out, and I'm naturally just very bony, so I do not have a ton of extra fat on my body. I am 6'1", so tall, but not like a giant. Overall, I would say I'm average. But Jane tells me I'm the hottest guy to ever look at her. And I'm not going to lie. I love that she sees me that way. What I don't like is how she sees herself. Like I said, she is on the bigger side, and she especially hates her apron belly, as she calls it. When we first started seeing each other, she would only give me head and not even let me touch her. I didn't push the issue because I didn't want to be a creep and force her into something. But one day I finally asked her why she didn't let me return the favor, and she responded genuinely with I just didn't think you'd want to do that with me. I finally got her to understand that I was dying to make her feel good too, and we started a more active and reciprocated sex life. Reddit, I won't be gross, but I will just say, wow. Truly the best I've ever had, and I love every inch of this girl's body. She is perfection. The only thing now is she still keeps her shirt on during sex, and we have to keep the lights off every time. I want to see all of her so damn bad, but I don't want to make her uncomfortable. I truly believe she does this because she's afraid I won't like what I see, but that is so far from a possibility. Her perfect face, lips, eyes, hair, legs, shoulders, knees, and toes are great, and I will gladly take anything she's willing to give me. But if I can have a preference, I want it all. I just want her to feel as beautiful and desired as she is. I'm worried asking for this will have the opposite effect, like she's not doing enough for me already. Would I be the a-hole if I push this issue further?
Interesting that we have an Am I the a-hole on Feel Good Friday?
I figure this one's kind of worth it being on Feel Good Friday.
Okay. Well, I guess what we have here is a pretty new couple because they've been together, 6 months?
Correct.
Okay. They're feeling each other out still, but it definitely sounds like his girlfriend has low self-esteem or confidence. And a lot of us walk through life like that. It's funny when someone can see themselves in a certain way and then everyone else on the outside sees them a very different way. It's no differently than, I've been in this. I grew up in pretty good shape. I played sports. And then as I felt myself gaining weight, I felt very unattractive.
I think you're absolutely attractive.
And that took a long time for me to get to that place where you saw me. But it helped a lot that I had your support. And we've done that for each other throughout our many years together now. You change a lot from when you're in your early 20s to 30s, 40s. Things change. That's just how it works. But for this OP, and I think he speaks for a lot of people in a relationship, normally you fall in love with, the outside, we are all attracted to things that we're attracted to. It doesn't matter what your preferences are. But a lot of the time, if it's a good relationship, it should grow past just what the outside looks like. And again, even if it never does, you're still allowed to have that preference in your life, as long as both parties agree that that's how the relationship functions. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad for how they want to run their relationships. That's not my place. But it should evolve past just the physical things and more about loving you. And what he says is he loves every aspect of this girl. That's fantastic. She has to also come around to that on her own time, no differently than I did and how you did and how most people do. Just because someone says that you're pretty or you're handsome doesn't necessarily mean you believe that about yourself.
It's where that saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Definitely.
It really does change, especially the way that we view ourselves. We have this standard that we hold, and I find it funny because our OP considers themselves so lean that they think that they're bony. But for a lot of people, that's probably the most perfect physique you can be in. And apparently for him, he finds beauty when you got a little bit of more cushion or a little bit more curves. And I find beauty in both of those things. In myself, it's much harder to, I guess, understand that the way that I look isn't a bad thing. And it might not be to the standards that I would like, but it's okay.
I would say that he's asking if he's a-hole for simply wanting to ask his girlfriend to see her body. No, you've been in there 6 months. You've been talking to each other. Sounds like the communication is there. You're allowed to ask the question. Just be prepared to field it regardless of where it falls. You know, if she says, I need a little more time before I get to that point, or if she says, I'm ready, but let's take it slow. Just be open to what her suggestions are on how you move through that. So that way it is a positive experience for both of you. Because it really does depend on how the message is delivered on that aspect.
There's also a huge difference, though, between saying, I want to see your naked bod.
Yeah.
And being like, I think you're so beautiful. I want to see all of you.
And that's why I say it really does depend on how the message is given.
Well, of course, the consensus on Reddit was not the a-hole. But let me go ahead and read some edits and updates from our OP. Edit. Thank you to everyone who has submitted helpful advice and just overall kind words. Most of you fall under this category, but to the few that don't, kindly go F yourself. I didn't post here to get your fat-phobic opinions on my girl's body. I posted here to get advice on how to make her more comfortable being totally bare with me, which I do feel like I got. I still have not spoken to her, but I have ordered some red lights, sexy teddies, and tops that are easy to pull the top down, as a few of you suggested getting. I'm also so stocked up with candles, the fire department may have me on a watch list. Laugh my freaking ass off. I'm gonna just give my girl the lingerie because it made me think of her, and if she wants to wear it, great. If not, also great. I got a beautiful girl who I love sleeping in my bed every night, so life will be good either way. Now, there were a lot of kind people that said, make sure that you can have red lights or just very soft lights. Try and make the mood more romantic. That way she's more in the mood than in her own self-conscious mind. There was just a lot of really good advice that was given to our OP. But let me go ahead and give you an update from our OP, which was about 6 weeks later. Quite a few people have messaged me asking for an update. I really didn't expect to make one, as I was going to just take all the helpful advice I got and go about my business, but my plan was foiled. A lot of you suggested I not show Jane. Fake name, by the way, because that confused some of you last time. My original post, because it might make her even more insecure. I never want to hurt my girl, so I wasn't going to show it to her, at least not right away, and I figured she'd never see it on her own since she doesn't even have a Reddit account. However, I forgot about Reddit podcasts and people who like to read these stories online for everyone to hear. Apparently, she listens to one while she works, and they happened to read a story that sounded just a little too close to her own life. She texted me a screenshot of the story after finding it online and asked if it was me. I obviously said yes and asked if we could talk that evening. She agreed, and I was bricking it for the rest of the day. Some of you guys really had me convinced she was going to break up with me for telling our business online. Thankfully, that is not at all what happened. When she got to my apartment, she gave me a big hug and a wonderful kiss before even saying anything, and I immediately felt my stomach settle. We sat down on the couch, and I guess she could tell by my face how nervous I was because she spoke first and told me she wasn't mad, and she thought all the comments saying she may break up with me for writing about her private life were over the top. I breathed a sigh of relief and asked her what she thought about what I said in the post. She said it made her feel wonderful that I thought of her that way, and she said she didn't think anyone would ever desire her body that much. I let her know everything I said was 100% true, and I really, really, really do desire her, but I understand her boundaries, and she doesn't have to push herself on my behalf. We had a long conversation about body image and intimacy that I won't go into detail about, but it was such a productive conversation, and I'm so glad we had it. I feel like I understand her so much deeper, and vice versa. At the end of our conversation, she did get kind of a sheepish look and asked if I actually bought all the things I mentioned in the edit on my OG post. I told her, yes, I did, and went to fetch the bag of candles and lingerie I had been storing in my closet. I also told her I installed red lights in my room as suggested. She said we should try a few of the things out, and I didn't hesitate to say yes, please. It was the best night of my entire life, and I'm not even kidding. Not just because the physical portion of the night, which wow, but also because I think I was able to make my girl feel more loved and cherished, and I know she made me feel the same. So moral of the story, if someone doesn't value the beautiful body you're in, they are not the person for you. You don't have to be ashamed of anything when you're with the right person. I've never felt more attractive than when I'm with Jane, because I know she loves me regardless, and I hope she feels the same about being with me. I wish nothing but the best for all of you. Thank you again. Also, special shout out to the Read It on Wikipedia podcast. I think that's what Jane said it was called. Apparently, it's some dudes who read Reddit stories, and they covered my OG post. Jane said they were super nice about the situation and made her even more comfortable with it all. Thanks for being great wingmen, boys.
You hit the nail on the head right at the very tail end of the update. The right partner will make you feel like the most attractive person in the world. And all relationships operate differently. So I'm not saying just because you're not getting that it's the worst relationship ever. That's not it. But you should feel cherished in that way with your partners. I believe anyway.
I would also just like to add, for individuals who feel like they aren't getting that in their relationship, maybe it's time to have a talk with your partner. It could be that they just don't realize what's going on in your mind or how you feel. And if you let them know, 100%, if they really love you, they'll definitely try.
Goes both ways. You need to have communication.
Well, let's go on to our next story and see what you think about a horse. My soulmate is my horse. My mother raised me around horses my whole life. When I came of age, I bought my first horse at 18 years old. Her name is Ruby, a little red quarter horse, which so happens to be born in the same state I was in, same year, and our birthdays are exactly 4 months apart. When I purchased Ruby, I was in a really rough spot in life. I lost the relationship I had with my mother. I was going through a 2-year breakup. I got really out of shape, and my mental health was declining to the worst state. I noticed Ruby hadn't been treated like a pet and more like a workhorse, which made me sad. I could tell no one gave her genuine love and respect. Every time I would open her stall, she would turn to hide in a corner and start to shiver. She was extremely head shy and pretty much flinched at every movement I made. I could tell she just wasn't mentally all there. I went to see her every day because I wanted her to learn I was going to be her person from now on. I spoiled her with treats and love. I respected her space and never did anything that caused her pain or discomfort. I never punished her for making a small mistake. I wanted to show her that I'll always treat her with kindness and that she has me to rely on. For all other horse people, you'll understand this kind of relationship. It took Ruby a couple years for her to trust me. She lets me come up to her while she's laying down, and during turnouts, she likes to roll right next to where I'm standing. For those who don't understand, horses don't lay down to people they don't trust. She started neighing and perking her ears up whenever she would see me or call her name. I know she's just a horse, but me and Ruby had been on so many adventures and she helped me so much mentally. I feel like we needed each other. A year ago, me and my current boyfriend started dating, and of course, he always adored Ruby. We recently found out we were expecting a baby. We were so excited and started preparing. But unfortunately, I had a miscarriage and had to go to the hospital because I couldn't stop bleeding. That night was so heartbreaking and physically painful and exhausting. My boyfriend stayed with me the whole time. The next morning, I wanted to go see Ruby with my boyfriend. I always go see her whenever I'm having a hard time. Usually, when I turn her out, she gets excited and starts bucking and running around as fast as she can. But that morning was different. When I turned her loose, she didn't leave. She stayed with her head low between me and my boyfriend, which she never does. She usually likes her personal space. She followed us and didn't leave us at all. She just had her head low, touching us with her face. It just kind of made me think, was she feeling the grief with us? Was she showing sympathy? Was she giving us comfort? My boyfriend doesn't understand horse body language that much, but even he noticed her demeanor. I consider this a wholesome moment because Ruby was there when I needed her to be, and I was there for her when she needed me. That morning made me realize this mare really has my back no matter what. I never had a horse comfort me the way she did, and after all these years, she's still one of the most important things to me. Me and Ruby are going to turn 23 together soon, but in the near future, she's the horse I want to raise my kids around like my mom did with me. Now I have to say, I've never experienced such a close connection with an animal. Like there are some individuals that I've seen and heard and read stories about. I think it's a connection that's quite different when you're able to have that sort of understanding between the animal that you're putting a lot of love into and they reciprocate that back in their own ways.
Voyse is a city girl, which is why she hasn't been exposed to too many animals, and her parents didn't do animals when she was growing up, really.
Nope.
But I grew up my entire life around animals. I grew up around a lot of farms. I grew up around a lot of horses. So I'm not shocked that a horse was able to have that type of connection with people. They're very smart animals.
And they're fairly sensitive, aren't they?
Depending on how they're raised and what they're used for. I think she said this was a workhorse primarily before she bought her.
But it sounded like she was pretty much abused.
Oh, 100%. If she's cowering in a corner when someone's coming into her stall, that's a problem. Things happened, unfortunately. But it sounds like through ROP's nurturing that she's been able to help Ruby trust again. They have, in my opinion, a very astute memory when it comes to people. Good for her that she was able to bring Ruby back, and then Ruby was able to help her through a very devastating situation. I'm sorry that had happened, but it sounds like you guys were able to find the light through that darkness together.
Well, it sounds like she's got an amazing relationship with her horse, a great one with her boyfriend that seems to support her, and God, I can't even imagine how expensive it is just to keep a horse, but
horses get there.
to be able to spend the time that you need to make sure that that relationship stays healthy. Her boyfriend being right there along the way, also learning about it, is great to hear. And I'm really sorry for her loss. I'm just glad that she's got the support that she needs between her horse and her boyfriend.
Keep your head up.
And that was our last story.
Good one to end it with.
I think we put a lot of emphasis on connections between people, and sometimes we forget that we also have those connections with the animals that we love and cherish as our own family.
Oh, yeah.
Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
And one last thing before we go. How was your Halloween?
Did you eat a lot of candy?
Did you go to parties?
Did it make you sick?
Now get out of here.
Have fun. It's the weekend.
It's Friday. See you guys next week.